Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit or Zappy here, back again with Demon Slayer. We are on episode 4, and in the last episode we had a sort of well, I wouldn't really call it a montage as much as just a sort of, a gradual time skip in 6-month increments, to kind of just like get the sort of training and practice over with for Tanjiro becoming a Demon Slayer. So, but I really liked that the way that it was done. They kept bringing us back to the same sort of like scene, but like it was like throughout the time skip and whatnot, going back to Tanjiro writing a journal, obviously for Nezuko. Now I'm wondering, because I did talk about it in the last episode, like how I was wondering if he was writing the journal specifically because Nezuko won't remember it because she's a demon. But I think because later on the episode, I said that basically before it was revealed that Nezuko was actually just sleeping, for essentially 2 years, right? So, I guess it's just that, so even though she is a demon, I guess she will keep these memories, but I wasn't sure if that was the case. But it doesn't matter anyway. So he's keeping a journal of his, of his progress and everything like that. So Sakonji has taught him everything that he can. Last episode, of course, it was, in order to get to the final selection, he had to basically split the bowler in half with his sword. Which, that was one thing I actually completely sort of dismissed last episode. I thought that was the final selection, so if he was able to do that, then he would become a Demon Slayer. But I guess it's not. That was just the test beforehand. So now it's the final selection. I mean, that's the title of this episode, I think, so, it makes sense. It was Sabito and Makomo. I really like those characters for as little as they were in it. I'm not really sure if they will appear again. The reason why is I'm sort of sticking to the theory that they are ghosts or spirits that have passed, of course, if they are, they've obviously passed on. But I think that Sabito in particular has some sort of connection with Giyu, because Giyu has the same, or half of his kimono is the same pattern as what Sabito's was. So I wonder. Speaking of that, anyway, I've actually bought Giyu's kimono, so I'm waiting for that to come. I think it should arrive tomorrow. So I'm happy with that because I've liked it since I saw it. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get it. So yeah, that should be cool. But yeah, I mean, he sliced. He obviously had a fight off against Sabito, split his mask, and after that they sort of dissipated into the mist, into the fog. And when Tanjiro looked back, it turns out that he didn't actually slice a mask at all. He sliced the bowler. So that obviously makes me think, yeah, there must be ghosts. There must be spirits. So yeah, I mean, really, really cool episode. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. So we're going to get in episode 4 and see what we get. If you do want to go watch the reaction itself, the 10-minute version, of course, you can in the description below. That'll take you up to the 10-minute version on my website and the Daily Motion. Through the Daily Motion web player, and if you want to watch it in full, unedited, uncut, the whole episode, the whole reaction, then you can do by the link is also in the description for that, and you'll have to become a full-length tier patron in order to watch that, but if you do want to, the option's there. But yeah, nothing else to really say, so let's get in episode 4 and see what we get. Okay, episode 4, right. Well, we're kind of getting into the meat of it now, and I am excited. So, there's a lot to go through in this episode. I had to look up the certain periods that the demon was talking about, because in my head, I was like, the Edo period was fucking a long, long time ago. But realistically, I only thought that because looking at the period of when it started was basically 1603. But when it ended, it was 1868. So I guess in the relativeness, if you're looking when it started, it seems so long ago. But when it ended, it doesn't seem that long ago, So I always figured that the Edo period was longer ago than actually it was, because I refer to it as I guess from what I think of it, it is the start of it. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, the Edo period is actually like the most sort of significant period, right? Like the most sort of well known, I suppose, in Japan, right? I feel like it is anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert by any means. And yeah, just like by going through all the periods. So I had a look. So the Tanjiro mentioned the Taisho period, which is when this is taking place, and that started 1912 and ended in 1926. Right, so that is when it's taking place. So yeah, that was right. So when I was talking about last episode about how it must take place relatively, it can't be like, it's not going to be like way far back like the Edo period, because there is electricity and stuff that we've seen very early, obviously, versions of it, and like telephone poles and stuff. But yeah, and then the one before that is the Meiji period, or the Meiji era, I suppose, which is interesting. So what signifies a period, and what signifies an era? Because I figured there would be the same thing, but they don't. It's like it's called the Taisho period and it's called the Edo period, but they refer to it here as the Meiji era and the Keio era. And the Keio era is that is still a part of the Edo period. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I'm sure they name the periods after the emperor, right? It's like the emperor's name, I believe. So maybe the era is their first name, maybe, whoever the ruler. I really don't know. I'm sure it's to do with the emperor though. But it is interesting that in the Edo period, at the very end of that was the Keio era. And then after that it changed over to the Meiji era, which was 1868 to 1912. Which I guess a different family became emperor. Like somebody from a different family. Like all of a sudden the descendants of because in the Edo period it's the Tokugawa, right? But you see here it says in the Edo period, it said the Edo period or Tokugawa period, so it's the same thing. It means the same thing, but it's there's two different. I know it's mostly well known as the Edo period, but Tokugawa was that's the family, isn't it? I don't know. I need to sort of research this and kind of look into it a bit more. But yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, what I was saying about how I thought the Edo period was way back, I was like in my head when the demon was like, back when Sakonji was hunting demons and stuff in the Edo period, I was like, hold on a second, was I wrong in which this takes place? Because I was like, if that's the case, Sakonji's been alive for fucking for a long time. Now, I guess it depends on it must have recently became the Taisho period in Demon Slayer. It must have, because I assume the final selection is something that happens. Is it something that happens every year? I think it is, right? So, and I'm guessing the demon does ask that question, like, to everyone, like every year, or at least somebody every year. So I feel like it must be the beginning of the Taisho period. So yeah, I mean, still Sakonji is old, but you know, it's not like wrong to think that, you know, that Sakonji is like some, you know, wizard at the age of like 150 or something like that. It's just that he's sort of on the back end he doesn't really hunt anymore. He teaches, but he doesn't hunt. Although I don't know, maybe he does, because he was out. No, I thought he was out in search of Tanjiro, but you know, who knows? I'm sure if he gets the opportunity to kill like a demon, then he would, but it's not something he goes out and seeks to do, I think. But yeah, right. So now that we've got like the sort of period and era stuff like out of the way, and now I am aware of kind of the time period in which it takes place, I guess we'll just start at the very beginning. So Tanjiro can sense an opening thread. Like, that's something that comes in. And one thing I did actually learn, especially in this episode, was that the water sort of... what would look like an ability, I think, is just visuals for the show. I think that's all it is. The same with the how you know, he picks up like the scent and whatnot, and then the opening thread. It's just... it's a visual, I think, for the... strictly for the viewer. It's not like something that is actually occurring in the... like, to the characters. So, interesting then. That is very interesting. And yeah, how it seems like obviously using water breathing, that translates into his sort of visual cue. So I wonder if there is different elements that they go into, like fire and lightning and air, I guess, earth. You know what I mean? All those elements and stuff. It's very cool though. Very, very cool. I mean, I never expected any less from the visuals because it's being done by UFO Table, and they did Fate, and that's like their visuals in Fate are unreal. So, you know, I didn't expect any less. I've noticed as well, like the animation is very similar though to My Hero. Like, there are some things that I see. It seems like there are things that occur in the animation that I've seen before, like when Sakonji tossed Tanjiro over, right? I talked about it last episode, but it was the same camera like motion as that it was in Attack on Titan when Eren tripped over Jean, right? It was just like at a slower sort of pace, but it was the same camera motion. And then in this episode, when the demon tossed Tanjiro against the tree and he like really bounced, it was the same thing as when Midoriya gets slammed against the bus in episode 24 of season 2, and the Katsuki Bakugo origin thingy. It's like I see certain things, I'm like, it's like it's so similar. So I it makes me wonder if they took, like, if, you know, I guess, you know, it's probably nothing new. It's just something that I'm beginning to sort of get similarities for, I suppose, since I do this pretty much, like, you know, every day that I can, that I'm just starting to pick up on things that, like, you know, I guess they take inspiration from other shows and incorporate it. But yeah, so yeah, and then so you can sense the opening thread. I liked also the fact of when he went up against Sabito, and this was obviously a testament, I guess, to how strong Sabito was, even though he couldn't fend off that demon. That he only had one opening, and that was like just straight ahead. But when later on in the episode, when Tanjiro went up against the two demons, there was multiple like ways he could have gone, and there was multiple openings. I suppose the demons don't really have any weapons either to parry, so the openings would be plentiful. But I just liked how it like showed multiple sort of different things that he could have gone for, and obviously going for the most efficient one to take them like out with one hit. It was really just cool to see. But But yeah, so that's the opening thread, and then Sakonji came out from the trees to see, gave him a compliment, which I believe must be the first one that he's gotten. Even I don't even think there would have been one off screen. Um, it's just that kind of thing of being that instructor, and it's like it's tough love, you know what I mean? And then once he's proven himself, once he's got nothing, like once Sakonji's got nothing left to offer, then he's able to to actually sort of embrace him as his heir. So yeah, and give him a hug as well. And it just, I like how it's sort of visceral it seemed as well with Tanjiro, because in that moment it's almost like he didn't have to have him tear up or cry. But it being a mix of like, after all this time, after 2 years of hard work every fucking day, like non-stop, he reached a conclusion. To all of that hard work, and he's and the progress that he's managed to get to, and then mix that with obviously being complimented by his instructor, who he's never been complimented by before. Of course, like just made him emotional in that moment, which is huge. So something just so little was so impactful. The thing I'm noticing about the show is that it's quickly like how easy it is to sort of get attached to characters so quickly. Like it's not even like Sabito and Makimo have only had what, like at this point, how much screen time? Like maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and I already like love them as characters. I wasn't even sure if they were even going to crop up again, but they did. So I guess spirits are something that do just hang around, and I guess they're able to come to living people. But I don't know if there's any sort of requirement for that to occur. I mean, it's possible that Tanjiro was just so... I mean, he was headbutting a boulder, but he also has a hard head, so I don't know if it was just like sort of the concussion allowing him to like kind of, I don't know, like be in that sort of purgatory state to allow it to see them, but he managed to see them again over the next 6 months. So I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, even Sakonji hasn't seen them, I imagine. Although, well, no, he may have done. The only thing it was that he did point out, like he didn't realize that Tanjiro had actually saw them. I don't know if they do come to Sakonji or not, but yeah. It's just a really cool episode. He was saying that he wasn't even planning on sending him to the final selection because he didn't want to see any more children die. So we know that he's aware. I imagine he is aware that the demon that is doing it is the one that he captured. And even the demon pointed out, like, it's like he's saying that he might as well kill him himself, kind of thing. And I was thinking that that's sort of tough, like, on him, because he's got like he's sending people to his death, like to their deaths, and not just people, but kids. But I like the way that he still wants to mentor them to a point where they can look after themselves, and by doing so, because they keep coming back dead. I think they said that 13 had died. That what he's been doing is actually increasing the boulder size. And I mean, that's obviously why I think why Sakonji obviously knows that it's that demon that is doing it, because the size of the boulder requires a hell of a amount, like more strength and technique, I'd imagine, to obviously get through that neck. And obviously the demon had eaten so many people that he was able to sort of malform into this sort of loads of these arms and cover his neck up, so that it wouldn't just be trying to go through the neck, but you'd have to go through multiple arms just to get there. And and obviously by increasing the boulder size, you know, it allows the kids, or it allows Sakonji, I suppose, to get a feeling for exactly how strong and how much potential the you know the student actually has. But yeah, I didn't want to see any more children die, so there was 13 altogether. And also, let's bring Giyu back into this. So last episode, with the theory that I thought that Giyu and Sabito must have been close or something like that because they had the same pattern kimono, that Giyu, I've gone back and forth with this, that Giyu was he under Sakonji or not. And now I'm kind of back to he wasn't. Because that demon basically said, like, I promised that I would kill all of the students of Sakonji, but like, I mean, I would figure that if Giyu and Sabito were close, that they would have been around the same age, and Giyu doesn't look that old, and he's still alive. So you've got, you've got to say that he got through it. So yeah, I mean, and that demon didn't mention anything about like, and one got away. So, you know, it's kind of like up in the air of whether or not Giyu was actually a student of Sakonji or not. But you know, bringing that back to sort of like the note that he gave over in like that we read in episode 2 about being like a true heir. I think what Giyu was actually referring to there was because he must know about the orphans and the students that died along the way. That this, like, you know, that Giyu believed that this was the one. You know, so yeah, there's that. And then he made him a warding mask, is what they call it. Which is interesting. It looks like the only people that get warding masks like that is specific to Sakonji, I think. It seems that way anyway, because Giyu didn't have one, did he? And I didn't notice any of the ones that were at the final selection having one either. I could be wrong. I may be forgetting if anybody else had one, but I you know, it seems that that's only a Sakonji thing, and it's a warden mask with a spell of protection. And I do honestly, I'm on the edge of whether or not this show has like spells or magic or abilities or anything like that now. Because I was thinking, like, well, there has to be. Like, how can you fucking... you know what I mean? Like, how can you slice through a boulder? You know? You just can't, like, in real life. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could just be... They are just... I mean, well, it's anime, isn't it? So it could just be enhancing the sort of... The idea that it is sort of semi-realistic and that, like, it's there's no magic and things like that, but it's... You know, there are demons and shit, so there's something with that. But they could just be enhancing that idea of strength and technique, like, to get to a point where it can be considered, you know, realistic. But, yeah. So I don't really know if the spell of protection thing on the warding mask is something like just a, you know, like a prayer or something, or like, you know, something ritual, like religion based, that he does to the masks when he makes them. That is one of those things. It's like the idea of like a lucky necklace or something, you know, just something that it doesn't really give you protection. It's just the thought that it does, and gives you like some form of comfort, I suppose. But I don't know. So he was talking about, yeah, how demons are stronger the more they eat. But not only that, like, physically stronger, but able to do more things. So shapeshift and get more powers and all of that kind of stuff. So there is that. I don't know if this demon in particular just decided that's what he was going to become, that malformation of just arms and blubber. You know, because I feel, how many, he said like, yeah, he ate like 54 or something like that, didn't he? And you know, I don't know if there's a specific point you need to get to like you know, I don't know if there's a certain amount of people that that the demon needs to eat in order to, now he's got shape-shifting, or if it's a case of like some people are more nutritious than others depending on what they eat. I don't even know if it's going to even get into that specific detail, but you know, there is that. And yeah, so he left to go to the final selection. I noticed he's obviously wearing a different kimono as well, which is you know, the same as the one that Sakonji's wearing. I kind of want him to keep the green and black one though, the checkers, because I really like that and I really prefer it. But I don't know. It could be just a thing for the final selection, you know. But you know, who knows? I mean, but I do like the fact that you know, he's able to, you know, take it from his master and wear it. You know, it's just like a sign of sort of respect. And that he's repping Urokataki. So yeah, and then we saw some things called wisteria, which were like, they were like trees of hanging sort of flowers, which apparently ward off demons. So that's cool. Like the idea that they have a prison where the wisteria like surrounds the whole mountain and they're on top and they can't get out. It's great. It's awesome. It's an interesting sort of idea for a prison that they can't get down from the mountain, so that they use that as the final selection phase, and that demon slayers go out, capture some of them, and throw them in there for the final selection sort of examination. It's really cool. I really like the way that it'll look as well, like that sort of like luminescent sort of purple thing. It's like really nice, really cool. Also, I wonder, like, it's interesting. I was talking about last episode about how I wasn't sure, like, about the leadership, because obviously Sakonji talked about it, how they wasn't sure, like they weren't sure who the leader was of the Demon Slayer Corps, and I was like, well, maybe just over time there was no need for a leader. It's just an association. But then there would have to be, unless it's just those two kids that appear as kids with the creepy eyes, unless it's just their specific job to host the final selection, because otherwise there would have to be some sort of, you know, like oh well, you know, like thing that they would have to like get together as a group, some sort of like council or whatever to so that they can, you know, talk amongst each other about when it's going to take place or whatever. But I guess it must just take place every year, like on the same day or something like that. But who knows? Who the fuck knows? We've got the name of the swords as well, which were called Nichirin swords. So they're not even imbued with magic either, and that's why I was talking about how I think they're sort of just enhancing the realism aspect, so that it's semi-realistic, so it doesn't have any magic in it, but it's, you know, what Sakonji talked about was it was just special sort of steel that are called Nichirin. So it's not that they were just imbued with some kind of ritual to kill demons, you know, but yeah, I mean, that's what makes me interested about how the demons came to be then, because they've clearly been around a fucking long time. That was talked about last episode, about how they don't know how long they've been around for. So I don't know if it's a scientific reason in this world that they've done that, they've come around, or if it's, you know, some malevolent god that has created them, or if it's magic or what, like necromancy, fucking god knows. It'd be nice to get into that at some point though. So yeah, it seems the fox masks are Sakonji's. I mean, I wrote that down on the basis that there may be like that the Demon Slayer Corps just wear masks, and you'll be able to tell which ones are Sakonji's because they're foxes. But like I said, I think the only ones that wear masks are Sakonji anyway. So there is that. But yeah, so I pretty much don't have anything else. I think that's all I've got to talk about. But yeah, the water powers. Well, I think everything is just visuals, like a visual cue just for the viewer. But he's got multiple forms as well already. I haven't even seen him training. Like the first form, I guess, is just straight slice in whatever direction. But the second one, the water wheel one, that one's really cool. I like that one. That one's sick. That one's awesome. It's really, really cool. So yeah, I can't wait to see more. Really, really enjoying this show. So I mean, I'm even talking up to an hour. I've been recording this. So really fun times. Really cool. All right, so that's all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. If you do want to go watch episode 5 and 6 right now, then you can do by going over to my Patreon and becoming an early access tier patron. So yeah, if you want to, you can do. It's $5 a month, and obviously you get 2 episodes early a week. For all of my shows. So yeah, go and enjoy that if you want. There's also full length tier there as well if you want to watch any of these shows on for full uncut and everything like that. And there are other tiers where you can pay to have a show reacted to as well. So if you want me to react to a show, go have a look at those shows and see what they offer. There's also the Discord link in there as well, so if you want to get over there, then you can do and ask questions, things like that. All the links are down there in the description. But that is all I've got, so thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.